Okay, so honestly, if you guys want to start travel hacking, you need to know the Google Flights, Google Explore feature. There's other features on other websites that I'll talk about in other videos, but I'm going to do a walkthrough on this one just so you can see how it works. You can play with this at home. This is a very useful tool for planning out cheap vacations. Okay, so I'm going to get right into it. And essentially, you just go to Google Flights right here. You can do round trip or one way. It doesn't really matter. You can, change the seating here if you like, of course, number of people. But here's the trick. So if you're like for me, I'm flying out of Seattle. So you put in Seattle, you leave the destination blank, you leave the departure dates and the return dates blank, and you just hit explore. Okay. And this is going to pull up some very, very cheap flights all across the country. And we're going to get to the world in a second, and you just kind of browse through these, and you've got a filter here, and this filter is set up for, I've just got it, for the next 6 months. You could do a weekend trip. I have it set for a 1 week trip. You could do a 2 week trip. You could choose specific months if you wanted to, if you're trying to plan something. So, like, if it's summertime's coming up and it's February, you're maybe looking at a summer vacation, start looking a few months ahead of time and use these filters to narrow down some things. So, I'm just going to leave these filters the way they are right now and just look at a couple things. So, from Seattle to Boise, 147, Seattle to LA, 119. That's actually pretty common. I've seen that. Seattle to Miami, 182. That's pretty good. You know, I've seen it a little cheaper, but that's pretty good. And you just click on these and you find the flights. Here's a nonstop Delta for $182 from Seattle to Miami. That's cheap. A lot of times that flight's between $400 and $500. You have a Chicago one here for 127, Southwest, again, a nonstop, 127 bucks round trip. Check out some other locations. New York, 217. I've seen this in, I think, like the mid 100s. And that's the other thing. So, what I usually tell people is, you can check this on a weekly basis because you want to get an idea for what the price ranges really are so you know when you're getting a great deal, not just a good deal, but a great deal. I've seen, I think I've seen like Houston to Miami for like $80, you know. But you just want to check it fairly consistently, especially if you've got some favorite location spots that you go to know what's a good deal. Let's check. Okay, Seattle to Las Vegas, 112. That's not too bad. I think I've seen it for like $89, but I mean that's $20 difference, $23 difference. Not a huge deal. Um, but if you check this and then just find your favorite locations. I think, let's see, New Orleans, Seattle to New Orleans for any shit. I might take a look at that. Okay, you got one stop, but hey, one stop, New Orleans, 181, not too bad. And what you can do is just move the map around and zoom in. Here's Seattle to Cancun, 339. Okay. Seattle to Mexico City, 492. I know that's not necessarily the best deal because I've seen it a lot cheaper than that. Seattle to Cabo, 348. Probably seen it cheaper than that. Here's some of my favorites though. When you get into the Caribbean, even like this, Seattle to Aruba for 470. That's pretty cheap. I mean, of course, you're going to have a stop. It's a long flight there. But okay, so that's 630. You could do Spirit for 470. So you do want to check the airlines because Spirit, Frontier, those are the discount airlines. Some people don't mind those, some people do. Just it's kind of up to you. Just use this as a guide to figure out where you want to go and what the price ranges are. So if you've got a dream vacation to go to Aruba, or let's say you want to go to, let's see, any place in South America. Here's Bogota, Costa Rica. Costa Rica is a great place, great food. 343 to Costa Rica. That's pretty good actually, from Seattle to San Jose for 343. That's actually really good. But what you want to do is take down your locations, like the places you want to go, and write them down and just periodically check this. Check it at different times a year because obviously you're not going to go on all your dream vacations in 1 year typically. But if you've got like your top 10, start playing around with this and find out where your price ranges are lying, throughout the year. Always check the shoulder season, the shoulder travel season of the location you're going to. So that's the 1 month before high or high tourist season, and the 1 month after. You can easily Google that when you put in your location, be like, hey, what's the shoulder season? Because that is going to have the cheapest flights. Always, always, always. So let's say high tourist season, like in Italy, is August and it's hot there. So you want to look at flights that are maybe in June and July, and maybe you want to start looking at those December through February just to kind of see what the price ranges are. Speaking of Europe, let's go over to Europe. And this has got the flights all over the world. Doesn't really matter. Seattle to Paris, 475. Pretty good deal. Let's see what that flight's like. Aer Lingus. You're always going to have a stop when you're going to, well, most of the time you're going to have a stop when you're going to Europe. But 475 round trip, that's really, really good. To Rome, 494. Barcelona, 510. Portugal, 493. All of these are in the $500 range, and these are round trip tickets, not one-way tickets. Look at this. Seattle to Dublin, Ireland, 338. You'd be surprised how common that is. I've seen that actually very common. Seattle to Ireland for 338. It's crazy. Let's check out Iceland. 498. Seattle to Iceland, 498 if you ever want to see the Northern Lights. Let's keep going over to check out places like Indonesia and Bali. Yeah, Seattle to Bali, 728. That's not too bad. Singapore, around $700. That's pretty common. I usually find that around Singapore. Thailand and Phuket, 818. This is a great tool to utilize to start planning your vacations, not for the last minute stuff. Seattle to Cairns, go swimming around the Great Barrier Reef, $902. That's pretty cheap. Usually that's 1,000 plus. I think I've maybe seen it for the high 800s, but that's pretty close. Seattle to Sydney, that's a deal. I can just tell you right now, that's a deal. 777. That's usually around $1,000 too. So you play with this, and you start to realize what the price ranges are, what shoulder season looks like, where your destinations are, when they're going to be the cheapest. New Zealand, 872. That's pretty good too. I always like checking out Hawaii just to see. Let's check out Tahiti real quick. $1,000, a little expensive. Let's check out Hawaii. Seattle to Hawaii, 347. I've actually seen that in the mid twos. So I know why 347 isn't that bad. I could probably get that flight for $100 cheaper because I've been looking at that all the time. I've seen it come up all the time. But this is a wonderful, wonderful tool to just start planning your vacations. It's completely free. You don't need to pay for anything. And this is something that I use all the time when I'm looking for trips to travel. Seattle to Alaska, 336. That's expensive. I usually see it for around 212, 220. So if you haven't gotten an introduction to the Explore feature on Google, this is a fantastic tool to use. And again, use these filters. Let's just check the summer, and then let's check August, see what's available. Okay, prices for like New York have jumped up a little bit more. LA is the same. Cancun's about the same. Aruba is about the same. Check. Europe is about the same. Not much difference there. Let's see. I like getting out in November because it's really gray in Seattle. So let's check some prices. Well, to Paris, Dublin's still 338. Look at that. Paris, 475. Portugal, $500. Imagine just taking a one trip week vacation to like Portugal or Paris in the fall or the winter when things are gray and yucky around here. Or you can go someplace warmer. Let's check the south. Cancun for 476. That's okay. Aruba is a little bit more expensive. Let's check Hawaii. 347 again. To me, $100 isn't a big deal either way, but I've seen that for 220, 212. Check Australia in November. Sydney. We were at 777. Now we're at 845. So, a good $70 difference. Not huge, but depending on your travel budget, that might be. But always check the Google Explore feature when you're looking at flights, just for fun. Get a sense of wherever your dream vacation is, wherever you want to go, write that down. If you want to make a little spreadsheet or just make a list, and just regularly start checking flights. It's going to be a huge benefit to you. You're going to come across some amazing deals because these airlines just want to fill those seats.